So here we are at the sprite sheet. This is our main character here, this guy here. Even though the general overview of the sprite sheet is set up at 16 by 16, this guy is at 56 by 56. Just change the grid here for this. So now let's take these frames and plug them into the code. We'll make our basic ninja square into a weapon holding attacker class that's going to be displaying all these frames of animation and attacking. So the first thing we'll do is come over here into the fromArtToCode section. That's on the Tabagio's website. That's the fromArtToCode section. Load up our sprite sheet that we've made. Okay, and the characters over here. We want to go ahead and let the tiles be 56 by 56. Update. Okay, just so that we see the character there. Okay, and we'll be using the animation corner here. If you hover here, it gives you some instructions. Over here, we'll also set 56 by 56, and then click set width and height to set it. So the first animation we see here is right idle. So I'll go ahead and say right idle, and then I'll press change animation, and it gives the boxes. Okay, it gives 8 frames ready to go. This one has less than 8 frames, and then we just click and then click it in to click each frame in that we want. And it gives us a preview of what it looks like right there underneath. Okay, and then if we press the Get Annies button, it gives us the code. It gives us an animation specs object with each animation. Okay, so that's the name of the animation. And this inner array is the X and Y index of each frame. And then, okay, so that's right idle. There's left idle. Type left idle now and change and click change any. And then now we're just doing left idle. Okay. 1, 2. Okay, so, and then now if we press get Annies, it's going to give us both as one. See how it's one object? Okay. It's one animate. It's the animation specs object. So right idle, left idle, defining each animation like this for the code. So we'd go on and define each animation like that. Okay. Then we're here in the code now. We want this to be a weapon holding attacker. Let's go ahead and comment out these. We're going to kind of pretty much redo that a little bit. Okay, and let's put this down here. We're going to say this.player equals new weapon holding attacker. Okay, we're going to put the X and Y at 0 just right now. Now, the width of the player itself is still 16 by 16, even though the animation is going to be at 56 by 56. Okay, the map is still seen. Okay, now CA, we are going to make a CA. Let me just go ahead and var player CA, which is a canvas animation, is going to be new canvas animation. And then this, okay, well, the source is going to be this dot image, this dot car layer. Okay, the canvas object. The from rect, we could just put null, X and Y. We just put 0, and then the width and height is 56 by 56. But we're going to plug that in here, player CA, player canvas animation. Okay, don't clone map, we could say 1. Delta time, we could say 0. Tile width is 16 by 16. Map rows is scene.length. And then scene 0 dot length. Okay, map of original tiles. Okay, this is for when we get to doing ladders, we will use this. For now, just it's expecting a 2D array. It could be null, but we're just going to pass that in for now. Okay. The next thing is controller. How did that escape? Control. Okay. Well, the next thing is controller, and we do have to pass in the controller in this case. Okay. Ladder value also we'll use that later. We'll just put it like that for now. And the attack button is 69, and then the alternate attack is going to be 81, which is Q and E. E is 69, Q is 81. So that's our weapon holding attacker class. I forgot to buy Geo's weapon holding attacker class. Player CA dot animation specs. Okay, animation specs is an object that defines each animation. And so we've used the fromArtToCode section to create these. The weapon holding attacker class expects to have a canvas animation. All of these must be defined as far as there must be an animation named left, and then, whatever frames or whatever it's going to be is whatever. Also, duck right and duck left must be defined. Climb does not have to be, but we've defined the climb animation, and we'll see how to use that in later parts. Okay, attack left, attack right. Obviously, if you want it to attack, we have to define the attack animations, and there's also an attack left idle and attack right idle, which means what is the attack when it's standing still. Okay, attack right is the attack when it's moving. Okay, and then hurt right, hurt left. Okay, so a lot of these are, if we don't define them and we're using a weapon holding attacker class, an error would happen if like left wasn't defined. And when this is trying to automatically change it to left, there would be an error because if there's not left defined. And we've used the fromArtToCode section to just by placing the art, it gives us the code for us, and then we just I did that piece by piece, one by one. Took about 20 minutes or so, and then you get all these, and then just copy paste it in. Okay, and then there's a few more things we have to do for this class, okay, because of our situation. Now the situation is that the animation is 56 by 56, but we want to just collide at 16 by 16. We need to offset, therefore, the animation on the screen over that square, over the middle of that square, okay? And also, all of the frames of the animation are exactly the same, and the weapon holding attacker class assumes that the duck animation would be less height than everything else. And so because in this case it's not, we're going to have to set this dot player dot crouch offset, that crouch height offset, equal to something other than 0. Okay, so we're just going to say it equals 0.1. Okay, and then all the other offsets need to be 0. Okay, so this dot player dot crouch width offset equals 0, and I believe that's already 0 by default. Player dot attack width offset is going to equal 0. That's normally 32. This dot player dot attack height offset equals 0. Okay, and then this dot player, and we're not dot attack. There's an attack 2. We're not using that yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it in this series or not. We might. I guess we might. Player dot attack 2 width offset equals 0. Okay, so by default, it assumes that the crouch height offset is going to be different than the regular height of the animation. So if it's not, then there'll be an error when you would try to change from duck back to normal. Okay, so we have to say that the crouch height offset is different than the other offsets, and then okay, we just had to do that because this happens, this animate, all of these frames happen to be exactly 56 by 56. Okay, so that's one thing we have to do for that. Okay, and then as we come inside of our loop method, we don't have to do extremely much, okay, except we're not going to auto animate anymore. Okay, so because of this also, we're going to animate manually. So we're not going to auto animate. This code is going to be the same to operate it, to attack and everything. It's just that. We're going to say this.player.canvas animation dot change direction animation. Okay, and into this method we don't pass where we want to go or where we want it to be animating. We want to pass in where it is. So we say this.player.vlock.x is less than 0. We kind of ask that question. If that's true, then okay, animate left. This, and then for right, this.player.last.vlock.x is greater than 0, then okay, right. Okay, and up is going to be this.player.vlock.y is less than 0, then up. This.player.vlock.y is greater than 0 for down. Okay, a lot is happening in change direction animation. It's overridden by the weapon holding attacker class. So that changes to a different animation itself. And now to animate it, we say this.player.canvas.animation.animate. Okay, that progresses the animation. We'll just say for the throttle, we'll just say 0. Okay, so that changes the frame of the animation. Okay, and now the reason we're doing this manually is for this next line, this.player.canvas.animation.match.position. Okay, so now we have to match the position of the animation over the player. We can imagine the player as a 16 by 16 square, but the animation is 56 by 56. Okay, so the mover is this.player. Okay, but so we want that 56 by 56 animation to be directly over the middle of the square, right, horizontally. So half of 56 is 28 and half of 16 is 8, right? So we're putting the horizontally directly in the middle of this, of the where the 16 by 16 square is, but we want the feet of the animation to be on the bottom of the square, right? So we want to lift the animation all the way up to the bottom of 16, so 56 minus 16. Okay, so we had to draw it all manually because of these offsets that we need to set. Okay, and then now to actually draw it, to actually display it onto the car layer, we say this.player.canvas.animation.blit. Okay, and we're done. We have to include our sprite sheet. Do that by saying sprite sheet image, okay, is a param up here for specs. And we say, what do they call it? Sprite sheet .png. Okay, and we don't need a server. The only thing that needs to be is that this image is in the same folder as all this. Okay, then let's save it and run it and see what we get here. So we got our guy attacking, jumping, right? He's not a ninja anymore. He could just regular jump. He could jump at different heights, but he can't double jump. But he can attack and duck. Okay. The next thing we'll do is expand this all out into a big area, a huge area for him to jump around and fight enemies in. And we'll go over making a title screen and then a HUD. Okay, and we'll go from there as we build the game.